What's going on, everybody? This is Cody, the home theater hobbyist, and today I want to give you my 4K UHD Blu-ray review of a little film called No Time to Die. This is the latest film in the James Bond series, and I've actually been looking forward to this for the past several years, ever since Daniel Craig pretty much put it out there that he wasn't going to be James Bond anymore. And that's not me taking a shot at Daniel Craig at all. I actually think he did a really good job with the James Bond character. I didn't like all the films, but I did think he did add a bit of toughness and ruggedness to it, no nonsense kind of to it, that I enjoyed from an actor standpoint. But I really kind of just wanted to see what he would do with this particular film. I was also looking forward to it because the anticipation has built up over the past couple of years, because this was supposed to come out at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was just released a couple of months ago due to, theaters closing and all of that stuff. So I was just kind of looking forward to it. Now, I did not get a chance to go see this in the theater, so I pre-ordered this copy. This is a 4K UHD disc. But before I get too far into this, if you enjoyed this type of content, please hit that subscription button, that notification bell, and give us a like, because that helps us not only do more videos and encourages me to continue doing more videos because I know that you like what you're seeing, but also it helps us get more products in for review, tells YouTube to continue recommending these videos. It just helps us a whole lot. So if you would, I would greatly appreciate it if you would actually hit those buttons. Also, join us on Patreon. I want to give a shout out to our patrons out there. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and you too can be a patron as well. Just use that link in the description below. Now let's move on and let's talk about this movie. Okay, so the movie. I actually enjoyed this movie even more so than I thought I was going to, because going into this, I'd heard they'd had some production issues with, I think they didn't get a new writer, a new director, and probably a few other things happened along the journey for this movie to happen. So I wasn't totally sure this was going to land it and stick the landing, but I think it did. The team that put this together did a good job kind of bringing all of the different aspects of the Daniel Craig James Bond together and tying it up here in this movie. So I do like that. I do think they did a great job with the movie. I think they have a really good cast, not just Daniel Craig, but a lot of the other actors and actresses did a good job with their roles in this movie. So I enjoyed this movie just from watching the movie. Now, I will say this is long. It's over 2.5 hours, and I wasn't expecting that. I didn't realize it was as long, and there was a couple times where I did look at my watch while watching this, because I was like, wow, this is long. But overall, I think they did a good job. So I do like the movie. Moving on to just a little bit of technical aspects, I bought the collector's edition of this movie, and that includes the 4K UHD disc, a Blu-ray copy, and a digital code. Now, the 4K UHD disc has both HDR10 and Dolby Vision HDR on it, so depending on the capabilities of your TV, it will access whichever metadata format is appropriate for your television. The disc also includes a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, which is object-based soundtrack, so it'll take advantage of whatever speakers you have in your room, as long as you have a compatible AV receiver or television or whatever it is that you're using to distribute the audio to your speakers. But that includes overheads, so it's got a Dolby Atmos track. The 4K UHD disc also includes the bonus material, the bonus content right there on the disc, which I consider to be a plus. I find that a lot of movies actually have the bonus content on the Blu-ray, but not with this one. You get that on the 4K UHD disc, so that's a good thing. Now, if you're just buying this for the Blu-ray disc, obviously you're going to miss out on that content. But the Blu-ray disc does have the same Dolby Atmos soundtrack on it, so that is a good thing. And honestly, I recommend you buy this version of this film and use that link in the description below as well to buy it. But I do recommend that you buy it even if you don't have a 4K TV and player at the moment, because again, you get all of the best that it has to offer, including the Atmos on the Blu-ray disc. And then when you upgrade to 4K later, you can just pop in that 4K disc. So moving on to video quality. First of all, this is shot on film, which actually surprised me when I first saw this, because it just wasn't as sharp as I was expecting. And then I saw a little bit of film grain and I was like, oh, that's actually shot on film. That's cool. Checked it out on IMDb, and it was shot on 35mm and 65mm film. And I like that. I think that's a good artistic decision, because this franchise goes back, 50 years or whatever it is, probably 55 years or so now. So, Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, the different men that have played James Bond in the past. And so having that film kind of gives it nice continuity, in my opinion. There are shots that are softer. There's actually a couple scenes in there that are maybe even a little bit out of focus. But again, that is okay because it goes along with the overall feel of the movie. And the film grain also gives it just a bit of grittiness, makes James Bond seem just a little bit rougher, a little bit tougher, right? So again, I think it's a good artistic choice. Now, I've got the 4K UHD disc, I've got the Blu-ray, and obviously the 4K UHD disc looks better than the Blu-ray. It's got wider color gamut, it's more saturated in the colors, it's got HDR, so you got better detail in the blacks, better highlights. Overall, it's just a much better image. That's not to say that the Blu-ray is bad, it's not bad, but the 4K version is better. You got higher resolution. The Blu-ray, in my opinion, looked a little bit washed out in a couple of scenes, whereas the 4K UHD disc was a little bit warmer, skin tones were a bit more natural, and when they give you the close-up shots of James Bond or another actor or actress, again, you got that nice detail with the image. They also showed off some different locations, as a James Bond film is wont to do, with locations like Norway, Italy, Jamaica, Cuba, and of course the UK, which I like. But I do wish they had a bit more color in some of those scenes, like the Cuba scene, the Jamaica scene. A lot of those scenes were shot at night, so the colors were a bit more, you just can't see them because it's dark, right? So I wish they did have that. But overall, I think the video side of the disc, both 4K and Blu-ray, is actually really good. Okay, let's talk about sound. And this is what I really, really enjoyed about this movie. I enjoyed the movie itself, I enjoyed the visuals, but the sound was just, it really, really worked. And I like it so much, I think because it's cohesive and it is very, very well done. The Dolby Atmos track is on both the Blu-ray and the 4K UHD disc. That's a plus. I think I always like it when they do that, right? But as far as sound design is concerned, this really takes advantage of the Atmos format in that it gives you directionality in a way that previous formats did not. You have your vocals nice and centered, and you have your ambient effects happening where they're supposed to happen, whether it be the front stage, the surrounds, the rear channels, or even overhead. But like I said, there are directional things that happen. There are gunshots that happen over your shoulder, and they're coming from over your shoulder, from the surrounds, from in front of you. You know exactly where they're coming from, and it's just, that's what I like about it. There's a car chase scene where the bad guys are chasing Bond, and again, it comes from behind you and goes front, and if you've got rear channels, it does exactly that. My theater setup is a 7.1.2, which is 7 ear level speakers on the floor, a subwoofer channel, which I technically have 2 subwoofer channels, and 2 overheads. So I was able to take advantage of it. Atmos works. You've got a plane that flies left to right overhead. It works there. You've also got voices in the overhead that are coming down. It all works, and it's very, very cohesive. But again, the sound designers didn't beat us over the head with anything. There's not an overabundance of bass, but when the bass kicks in, it works, right? It's not rumbling your floor every 20 seconds, right? It's there when it needs to be, and then it is gone when it doesn't need to be there. And vocals, dialogue comes right out of the center channel like expected. So I think they've done a great job with the sound design for this movie. And if there's no other reason to buy this movie, honestly, I'd say the sound design is probably it. So overall, I highly recommend No Time to Die. If you don't have a James Bond movie, this is definitely one to pick up. It's got a great story, the visuals are there, and the sound design is really, really good. It doesn't break any new ground, but it's still really good. It's nice and cohesive, and it will definitely show off your Atmos setup if you have one at home. So if you want to pick this up or anything else, use those links in the description below. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, join me on Patreon, and just thank you for watching. Have a happy holidays. We'll talk to you next time.